Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys how to make a very basic recipe of my twisted peppermint bath bomb. Right here I have 500 grams of baking soda. Next I'm going to add 250 grams of citric acid. You want to make sure you do grams, that way you get correct measurements. Whenever you just do by cup, sometimes the climate can affect that. So then next I'm going to add 15 grams of kaolin clay. You can add any sort of hardener, I guess is what I would call it. You can do cornstarch, any sort of clays. You can do cream of tartar, anything that's going to help make it hard. So then next we're gonna add 20 grams of SLSA. This is optional. I like to add this so that they kind of bubble instead of just fizz. You really should wear a mask whenever you put the SLSA in. It is very fine and it will get everywhere and get all over you and get in your lungs, and that's something you got to be careful about. Normally I would just pour it directly into the bowl, but I want to make sure everything is sifted really nicely. Normally I would add the citric acid at the very end, like even after I add all of my liquids and oils and butters and everything like that. Adding it at the end just helps it not fizz and bubble once you add the liquid. Sometimes it can cause it to activate prematurely, so I just like to add it at the end just in case. I know this seems kind of time-consuming and monotonous, but I promise it does make a huge difference. I noticed whenever I first started and I didn't do this, my bath bombs would always have little, like little chunks in it, and I always wondered why. That's why. So I will just set this to the side. Next, I'm gonna use this bowl for my liquids because I wanna make sure I mix all of my liquids together. That way we can kind of bloom the color and make sure everything is mixed together nicely. So I'm going to do 20 grams of sweet almond oil. You can do whatever oil or butter you want. A little more, that's all right. A lot of times I will use jojoba oil. I really like that. Or I use cocoa butter or some sort of butter. That also helps with the hardness, because with the butters, whenever they dry, they will harden as well. So then I'm gonna go in with 20 grams of any skin-safe fragrance. There we go. So then I like to start off with about 5 grams of 70% alcohol. I will add more to my mixture once I'm done if I need to. So you can start off with something small and then work your way up, because once it's too wet, it's really difficult to get a nice bath bomb going backwards once it's too wet. If it's too dry, we can always add more liquid. Okay, so now I'm going to add some polysorbate 80, 4 grams of this. Whenever I first started, I thought I needed to match the amount of poly to the amount of oil and everything that I put in. So I would put like 40 grams, and that was not a good idea. Learn from my mistakes. Okay, so this is all of the liquids. Because we are going to be doing a 2-color twisted peppermint bath bomb, I am actually going to put this in half, mix all of this up, and then I will come back and show you what that will look like. Okay, so now I have my mixture split in half. I've got this one will remain the white color. To this, I'm gonna add some red colorant, and this is a lake. I'm gonna do probably about half of this, probably about a half a teaspoon. Just mix that. And see how nicely that starts to mix into the oils and the polysorbate. There's not a ton of clumps. We'll kind of mash those out with this. But if you don't add the poly, 1, lakes will stain. They will stain your tub, I promise. And 2, they will not mix together nicely like this. They will not have that color. They will just end up like this rim and just ball up like a mica. Micas do the same thing. So that's all mixed together. So then that will go into this. This bowl will be our red side. Okay, so I'm gonna mix together this white side first. Okay, so this needs more liquid. A lot of people say to feel it, it will feel like wet sand, but honestly this feels like wet sand, and I know that this is not hard enough. There's different levels of wet sand. So we are gonna add a little more alcohol to this. I like using alcohol because it will evaporate, the smell will not stay around, and as this dries, as the bath bomb dries, it will also help to make it harder. So that's why I like using alcohol. You could use water, you could use witch hazel. I know some people are allergic to witch hazel, so you have to be careful with that. You wanna make sure you label that. So the easiest way, so see, this is pretty good. You could even do maybe a little more liquid, but whenever you grab it and form it and it stays, or if you make a ball and drop it and it stays in ball shape, that means you're ready to go. So we will move this aside and mix the red. I'm gonna grab a little white. It doesn't matter what color you put first. Sometimes I do red, sometimes I do white. Depends on what side is getting low, honestly. I kind of rotate back and forth. So we're going to spin again, and then we will just fill it up, press a hole. Okay, and then this side, I'll do red first, and then some white. We'll spin. I like to have this kind of like junk bowl right here. That way all of these random pieces can fall. And then once this fills up, I will start using this to pack the insides with. So for now, since we just started, we will just use the actual color. So just kind of press it lightly, push together. Look at how nice that is. both sides. See, that's the one where the red was first. I kind of like doing the white better. I kind of like having all of the white peeking through, but it doesn't matter. So I am going to finish filling all of these, and then I will come back and show you how these react in the water. Okay, so we have been letting these dry for about 24 hours. This one right here is actually a large one that I made, but the same recipe.